Я почну українською, а потім
So I will begin in Ukrainian and then I will switch to English. So good afternoon, good morning. I've been waiting for today's even more. Then the following panel should be a kind of wow. And then we will continue. We will have lunch and another panel, after which we will be all happy. A few technical issues. We have tickets for the concert. Simon has got them. If you want them, please approach him. The second thing, Alevtina is conducting a unique campaign, a performative campaign. Ola mentioned yesterday that there are donations for Shukhevich Museum, so you can buy one or a few pictures by Alevtina worth 1,000 plus hryvnia, so this is a real bargain, and I'm sure there will be no paintings left during the day. Today we have another movie. So what do we have in Nova 1 today, Simon? Distant Pairs. It's about musical collaborations at Nova Odin again, where we had the movie about the dancing yesterday. Also, I'm welcoming.
There was more than 250 people from 13 different countries. Let's beat it today. Let's have even more. Also for people in live stream, you can, I guess you have this Zoom. So if you want to buy Alevtina's drawings that she was doing yesterday, and that's a donation, a donation for a museum in Ukraine, just put it on in chat. The minimal amount is $500. Yeah, so please, feel free to just email and we'll figure it all out. And so without further ado, і без зайвих слів подалі, я вже передаю Каті.
Without further ado, I am giving floor to Katya and Alevtina. So have a great day today. I wanted to add that today I will also be painting, drawing, maybe not right now, but a bit later. Ola Honchar, she is coming to us. She's got stuck in traffic jam. She'll be here soon with the link to a bank account, and we can share it online. And during the coffee break, you'll be able to scan the QR code and donate and choose a drawing. So we already have some interesting activities for the lunchtime. There will be some memories shared. So we are preparing for lunch, and we'll talk about it later. So our panel in general has a general name, Artists and Memory. And it's not a coincidence that Nat and Simon called me to talk at this panel. I will present my organization. This is the organization that we co-founded with Oksana Dolgopolova and that we continue working at. Just for you to understand why is it me who is talking about the memory. So I'm not talking on my own. I'm really happy to talk about the topic together with Alevtina. We will have quite unusual panel. It's not like a solo lecture, and it's not about the discussion. It is more about a conversation, a kind of case study, which will refer to many topics that we mentioned yesterday. And at some point, we will try to build bridges, because yesterday there was a question raised about colonization, about the funding of for cultural projects, the issue of involving state institutions, and so on. In our case, we will have everything, all these topics, and we will finish our conversation with the viewing the artistic work. It will be an exclusive opportunity for you. Today in the morning, we had an excursion around the exhibition by Kateryna Radchenko. So today we are looking at and discussing art apart from our panels. And we would recommend you to wait until in 1 hour there will be an opportunity to view this artistic work, and then we will have lunch. But before that, we'll have to cover this project and how it all happened and why it's important for us and for you. But before we start talking about this case, I will present myself. Why am I speaking about the memory today? In 2018-19, together with Oksana Dovgopolova, my colleague and my partner, we thought about the platform of memory of the past and future. So you can see our website. I don't have a presentation, but our online source is an archive of all our projects. That's why I would like the technicians to display it on the screen. If you're interested, please use it for your personal reference. There are some useful things that you can find there. It's not just a site, it has certain products that I will discuss. When we initiated the platform, there was an idea to focus on reworking the past and use the art in order to work with the topic of the memory. For me, as a cultural manager and curator, at this point, I was very much interested in the art in general terms, in Ukrainian art, but I've worked in different spheres. For me, it meant to narrow down to a certain topic and focus on memory studies, where art was one of the key tools when working with the past, especially with traumatic past. And for Oksana, my colleague who has academic and philosophical background, it meant to leave academia and shift to some practical work. As a result, we created a duo, and all our products are a kind of dialogue between art, history, philosophy. And this is quite a practical thing that is born out of our dialogue. But we not only do we speak with each other, but we also involve other people. Could you please open our site, because I want to have a look at one of the products. So exhibitions are one of our key products. Exhibitions that are working with the topic of the past. And what's important to add here, up to 2022, this past, those were some tragedies from afar. For example, Holocaust, famine, Chernobyl catastrophe that we referenced to, that we dedicated our exhibitions to here in Ukraine and abroad. But after 2022, as we all know, it was about memorizing the current war, and we were forced to deal with it as well, but I'm gonna focus less on it because it's a separate sphere and track of ours. But I would like to draw your attention to one important product. This is a glossary. This is how our website looks like. And at the top, you can see the link to the glossary. This is the first and the only one, the only specialized glossary of Ukraine, in Ukraine, of memory studies. We are creating it in cooperation with the colleagues from the neighboring disciplinaries, because memory studies is not a close-ended study. We also can involve international law and art critics, history and philosophy. So on the screen, you can see more than 100 terms that have been already included in the glossary. It exists since 2019. It is constantly being replenished with terms, and you can see the authors who are actively involved. Yesterday, Boris Filonenko was here among one of the participants. He was one of the authors as well. Maybe some of you will also join our collaboration in the future. This is a very useful tool. This is the glossary of Ukrainian language, and you can read the story, why it exists and why it is useful. When we launched it, the majority of terms from the field of memory studies existed only in English or in Russian. There was no issue with the Russian language, but there were some issues with the narratives and how these terms were defined. And we thought that maybe just an average Ukrainian citizen is not going to deal with the English terms while they don't have access to the Ukrainian terms. That's why we need to have Ukrainian language. For some terms, we also use some definitions that haven't existed before, or like the translations were interesting, like the implicated subject, for example. It was difficult for translation. So you can use it again for your personal reference. And what was important, this case that we are going to discuss, it came up not accidentally. Last year, we had a national pavilion at Malta Biennale. It was the new Biennale in Europe, and it was its first iteration, the first issue. The main topic of the Biennale was decolonization. Malta initiated this first Biennale, and they wanted to talk about the issues that were relevant for them. They are still the country who are reworking it, processing it. And from our side, we, having our own background and our own focus, actually responded to this Biennale, because this is also the field of our interest, and this is the topic that we are working with. Alevtina, you told me to focus on the glossary. Yes, you can see I dedicated a lot of time to it. I'm thankful to you that you appreciate the product. And now we are moving to the past and future of the art. We are moving on now to the particular case, pavilion. As I have already mentioned, we planned the first Biennale on Malta. And it's important to highlight that the principle of the work is the same as in Venice. So main project plus national pavilion. So in 2024, Malta decided to use the same approach as the Venice had done sometime before, and they didn't invite Russia to participate, even though they really wanted Ukraine to be present. That's why they addressed different institutions. And when inviting us to apply for the competition and participate, so that they wanted somebody responsible to be responsible for the pavilion creation. And in comparison to Venice Biennale, we have Ministry of Culture who are a commissioner. This is already an established tradition, how Ukraine can be presented, and they present their projects in Venice. Malta is something new, the top brand new Biennale, and we don't have a state model in which way, how we will select the projects here inside Ukraine to be presented abroad. So the approach is that an organization from Ukraine can offer a project submitted to the team of Malta, and then they already select someone. We don't know. We don't know how many projects were involved, were applied. We were not the only one, of course, but we were selected. We had location offered to us, communication support was offered to us, everything apart from funding. And we were thinking how a small NGO can prepare this pavilion. This is actually a bridge to the discussions from yesterday, where to find funding and how to implement everything. It looked like it was easier to implement without the involvement of state. We are like our own managers, but on the other hand, we didn't have any financial support. Of course, we looked for partners. We invited institutions. We will discuss the content a bit later. Since we focused on the south of Ukraine and in Odessa in particular, that's why we partnered with the Odessa Museum, Ukrainian Institute. We provided participation of the state, of authorities. How did we manage it? We needed a kind of presentation. We contacted with the office of the First Lady, had some long communication, but we, at the pavilion opening, at the video, there was a welcome remarks from the First Lady. Maltese were really happy. They were not bothered that the First Lady didn't come in person, but the point is that she addressed them and commented on the pavilion for 3 minutes. It was very important for them. And they even invited the local media who recorded the video message of the First Lady of Ukraine to them at the grand opening. What's important to mention here as well when it comes to organization, before we move on to content. So how did we fund it all? We decided that the only opportunity for us is to apply for a grant. This is how we do all our activities in our NGO. That's why we started fundraising, we applied for grants, also involved some private funding. The grant was from isolation, from Creative Europe. What's important to highlight here, the term of implementation of the project was really short. This is from the end of summer when we applied with the call of application till March, when the pavilion was already open. So a lot of effort was invested, and we as a team started thinking about the topic and idea of the pavilion. It was born really quickly when we had an open call, and there was an idea from we knew who we would collaborate with. This is the artist sitting next to me. This was like a best shot. The organizers announced about this decolonization as the main focus, and we continued kind of our ideas. And since we focused on the south of Ukraine, on Odessa, we were interested in this imperial heritage and how to work with it. That's why we started transferring it into the idea of the pavilion. That's when the idea was born, to have a look at the south of Ukraine from the different viewpoint. That is...
So in the Russian narratives, south is the south of Imperia, and we are trying to oppose this narrative. So we are following the way not just to provide opposition, no, but to offering alternative perspective. So we thought that if we have this Malta point of view, it's the north of the Mediterranean area. So we need to change the focus because the south of Ukraine remains the same. It is not shifted geographically. It just, in the other perspective, in the other relationships with regard to the civilized perspective. So therefore, we had this idea to name the pavilion from the south to the north, not vice versa. And again, to work with this shift of the focus. So we were thinking about the artist who is working on the topic of decolonization, who is really professional and is capable of implementing complex projects under time pressure, again, appealing to the international audience. So all of the requests towards the artists, we understood that there should be only one artist because we are on a shoestring resources. So we knew that we are going to do our best to provide and implement very top quality project. And right now I will appeal to Alevtina. So we turn to her. Yes, thank you. Indeed, so you started in summer, but we were talking that is Malta, and I was thinking about what is the country. I just looked it up on the map in fall, and then in December we were already there just to see what it is, the country, and to see the pavilion. So it was an old villa where the British admiral resided. It was really, really in bad condition, all dusted. He left it a long time ago and nothing happened since then. So it used to be a kind of a college, but when we were there, nothing of it was operating. So in this pavilion, in this villa, Katya, you can correct me. So how many national pavilions? Four, and one of them was Ukrainian pavilion, and three others, these were Spanish, Polish, and Italian. It was very important to come to feel this country. It's really, really tiny. So you cannot even feel that you are transferring from the cities or between the villages. So it's really teeny tiny country. So for me, capital, it was Valletta has like less than 1 kilometer length. If you visit Poland frequently, so a lot of basically Poles like to visit Malta, and a lot of planes from different Polish cities, they go to Malta. Yeah, teeny tiny country. In a nutshell, it's obvious that it used to be British colony. People speak fantastic English. You can see British red telephone boxes. You can see their mailboxes, balconies of this style. But when it comes to the language, yes, there is Maltese language. They write in Latin. They have Catholic religion, but it's something really contrasting with what we used to see in churches. All right, what I can add. So 3 days I had in Malta, so I tasted this country on post-production. On the mountain when we were assembling our project. So I met some elderly ladies, and they were explaining me what is the British decolonization all about. It was like it was a kind of like landlocked country back then. They could not bathe. They were not allowed to swim in the sea. Sometimes there used to be one. It's a fantastic, picturesque place, and only the access to this space was open only once a year when there was some fest. So British colonization, and I cannot tell you the time frame, but I just want to ask, open our website and our web page, the page that was dedicated to the pavilion, and it would be, yeah, so we could see some pictures. Maybe because of the fact that I have my own residency, it's very important to be physically somewhere to understand and be aware of that context. And therefore, for me, it was very important to have this hanging out with the Maltese artists. So we had parties, and they say, we do not know what's our identity. We are still looking for it. Let's stop here. That's a part of our pavilion, and then we will give a comment. Sorry for interrupting. So what you can see here, yeah, these are the walls of the villa. That was the condition. So the old windows, a lot of sand coming. So it's like we were on the sand beach. Yeah, we chose the best location. We had the two balconies, the garden view balcony and the sea view balcony. What was interesting about the Biennale, so implementing this idea, teamed up with UNESCO, they had the idea to reboot this architectural legacy. So they want to give the breeze with this contemporary art, the new life into this architecture. And there are different pavilions all around Malta, on the island of Malta, on the Gaza Island. So all of the countries was, there were a lot of projects embounded there. So I think during the lunch, right, we can also approach to Leah. She was the participant of the Polish thematic pavilion. So yeah, we had a very good time back then. So this reboot of the architectural heritage, that is what is important. And therefore, there were different locations, like museums, historical museum or artistic museum. So we had some location to choose from. So we were interested in this villa. And so if you want to have the pavilion on Malta, yes, it will be an advantage for you. Yeah, it's up to you what location to choose. So this is something which is totally different from Venice. All right, so we chose what we liked. We chose the numbers, the quality. So Spanish, on the first floor, they made some refurbishment. They had white cube, but we also wanted to fit into this context, and we started, and we were moving not from the white cube, but with this transparent walls. We didn't want it to change the context where we found ourselves in. So we have these panels to tell how we can understand this connection between Malta and Ukraine, and there's a fantastic connection. So, yeah, you can take a ship and sail to Yalta, and that's how it used to be before Soviet Union collapsed. As it turns out, there was a conversation with Gorbachev and Mr. Bush there. They wanted to talk about the future of the world, but in 2 years, the Soviet Union collapsed, and there is a very big political action from Yalta to Malta. No, we didn't ship to Yalta, but we had a small trip on the ship, small voyage from Malta to Yalta. That was the name. We had this performance for 7 minutes. A short intervention from my side. So, what is the essence of Ukrainian pavilion in Malta? So we had the space. There was a video there, the one that we are going to watch. There was this installation with these panels because they provided the context of what connection and through these cases, Alevtina wanted to explain the history of the 20th century, basing on her family background. So for me, for curators, it was a discussion between an artist and curators. So that was a request, and we actually approached Alevtina because we wanted these private cases, we wanted to unveil them. We didn't want to have the big, thick history book, but we wanted to feel this private experience through, we wanted to discover this imperial influence for each and everyone as based on the family experience. So there also was a map where we depicted the south and north, and there was also this performance Alevtina mentioned. So this is from Malta to Yalta performance, and after the opening there was the public program. We have the partner of it, Kharkiv Institute. So we had the international discussion on decolonization topic. We had Kenya expert. So we really wanted to broaden this cooperation. We already mentioned the element of the exhibition. And could you please go further with the pictures? Alevtina, if you want, please give us the comment. So right now we're going to see the fragments of the panels. Yes. So these panels, they are like the open photo book, family photo book, connecting me, my family, Ukrainian part, from my great grandma, and also the Georgian part of my family. We also have the connection. You can ship from Batumi to Malta through the sea. So the connection is not just with Odessa, but Odessa is the place, but also with Georgia, where my father was born. The next picture. So yeah, here we have when Katya and Oksana approached me and offered to talk about how to feel that Odessa is not the south, but the north of the Mediterranean. So to think about some plants, I said, look, I was made in Odessa. My parents met in Odessa. My father wanted to be the seaman, and he met my mom there. My mom came to Odessa because she wanted to live by the sea. So there they met, and there I was being made there. That's my mom on the famous stairs. So that's the Langeron beach. All right, the next photo, please. So these panels had 6 topics on Holodomor, World War II, language, Georgian Ukrainian family, contemporary, my mom's family when she was under occupation, and the destruction of my aunt's house. The next, please. Yeah, I want to show that this is my granny, the one who used to fight during World War II. That's my grandfather. And here I write a lot, an appeal to the European context. I recall Anna Frank Museum. And here I write that it is not so. I had 4 people fighting from my family in World War II. It's very easy. So Malta here, Yalta, Batumi, Mariupol, Odessa, and Kyiv. And there is Moscow, but it's not here. Yeah, it's in the darkness outside the picture. And here it's the sea. So we were writing this straight through the map, through the overhead projector. So it's very, very precise map of the cities and with the 2 seas between them. So yeah, the cities we were interested in. So this is what we tried to prove. So here we have Odessa. Odessa is the northern part of this region, and that's my family story. Batumi, Mariupol, of course, is here, but also I used to study in Mariupol when I was a kid. So there are also some stories about this. A couple of more photos. So here, please, quicker. Okay. Yeah, here the Georgian case, you saw the cloths. Yeah, we have reference to Malta, what is happening there. Please go back. Could you please go back? So here are two warships. That's the meeting in 1989. Yes, our Malta friends reminded us. That was the meeting between Bush and Gorbachev, the one that I mentioned. So some more pictures. We have the video. The next one, please. Yeah, we're gonna watch the video. That's the villa itself, our team, the opening. This is what we mentioned already. Our Polish ambassadors, a lot of politicians were coming. As for the performance, Alevtina invites. Yeah, that's the regular transport in Malta, transport mode, how to sail through different cities by ferry. So we occupied that transport, and we said, unfortunately, we cannot invite you to Yalta, but we would really love to. And Alevtina was enumerating the names of the political prisoners of war from Crimea. She mentioned Linia Umerova. Yeah, we were building this connection from Yalta to Crimea. I mean, Yalta as a Crimea. What is also important to be mentioned, yes, we will go back to the video a bit later. But when we were having this conception, when we had this idea incepted, we were starting thinking about this project, we knew that we are going to show it not only in Malta, but somewhere else. And that was the critical point for us. So we were thinking about how important it is to be displayed in Ukraine. So we are willing to do that. And of course, we have Odessa National Artistic Museum as our partner. So after Malta, even in the meanwhile, Malta, we have 3 months of this Biennale, and in May, we open another exhibition in Odessa National Artistic Museum, which was... It's not the same, of course, it was adapted, but the topic was the same. It was, yeah, no, it was not adapted. I cannot put it like this, but that was the second version of the project. So the panels we were showing you, they were written in English. Of course, in Odessa, we wanted to do it in Ukrainian, and we wanted to make different accents. So I appealed to Oksana Dolgopolova experience because in my family photo book, of course, I used my personal case, my family story, but also I took notes also for what could be resonating for Maltese people as well. For example, for Ukrainians, Orange Revolution in 24, in Georgia there was the Rose Revolution in 2003, and there was special attitude of my father to this revolution, and again the attitude of my mom to the Orange Revolution. Did they talk these events over or not? So here I also mentioned 1992, when I was going to my dad in Batumi through Abkhazia with my brother, and right now it's impossible to do so because Russians are in Abkhazia. So yeah, different ships, they were just shot down, and of course we were supposed back then to wait for a small speedboat.
1992. And in this way, as a teenager, I faced the Russian aggression, and during these panels we talked about it. So basically for Odessa there was less about it because we know about it more, and this whole story, I know that we still have some time left but not too much, and we did this 6 panels. This was something extraordinary. When I had a look at it from the side, it was just terrible. In short, my great-grandmother together with my great-grandfather were fleeing the great famine to Donbass to survive, but later on my mother died in Donbass at the checkpoint with the border of Donetsk National Republic, and then the house was also destroyed. So this is the story of my family. And those who know about my practices, I always memorize what my relatives said. I use their direct citation. And my mother told me that we were pushed away from Vinnytsia. So that was my actually grandmother, and my mother was only 15. No, she was 10 actually. She was born in 1921. And now again, do I have to flee again? So this was all discussed at the panels, and I felt terrible to discuss all these stories in front of the Maltese. As soon I shifted to different stories, as for example my Georgian relatives also participated in World War II. I communicated with them, and during the World War II there were some people who died from my family. I asked them about their attitude to Stalin, whether they experienced great famine. And my relatives shared a lot of interesting stories. My parents changed their attitudes from some time. So these were the fragments of the stories from my relatives, but it's not about my uniqueness. Just this whole story encompassed about 100 years, and I'm sure that other Ukrainians could have the same. You did a lot of work, and these panels, this project has already a history. So this is how we wanted to demonstrate it on Malta, and we wanted to include it into the Mediterranean context, and we wanted to focus on the south of Ukraine, but also talk about other focuses. And then this project, together with panels, the panels from Malta moved to Poland, to Białystok. And there was a personal exhibition by Alevtina. I would like to express my gratitude to Kostrova, Ms. Kostrova. These panels, this all work, and the movie became the part of my personal exhibition, which is called The Plants and People in Białystok. And then it moved to Zelena Hora. And I was asked there, why is it all about Malta? But on Malta, there was a kind of act of cultural diplomacy that took place, because at the opening there were a lot of politicians. So on the same day, there was the opening of all national pavilions. And we were asked, well, what do you have to do with the small Malta? But it had the neutral status. And that's why it's interesting, because a lot of political negotiations took part that were historical. That's why there's also a question. It's not only a project for the Maltese people, but this is a project for the international community that visits Malta. And on the same day, there were openings of the Spanish, let's say, Italian, Ukrainian, and Polish pavilion. And all moved from one pavilion to another. The project was presented, was there at the 3 months later on. We gathered a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback from both professional audience and general audience. Well, in fact, the Polish pavilion, there was actually a lot of criticism of Polish pavilion, a lot of praise of the Ukrainian pavilion. Maybe you would like to comment on it. I think when it comes to Polish pavilion, Poland experienced the change of power, and it was reflected in the selection. In a year, I wrote a text which is available on Suspilna Kultura. I am from the country which was against the nuclear weapons, and also at the Art Looker, my text was translated into English. I was writing this text. It was not only me and Oksana and Katya Volkina. So we all together worked at this text. This is our big text. And I think this is a kind of encouragement for those who want to apply, do the national pavilions, Ukrainian national pavilions, but you can also apply as an individual artist. And this text is, I already started talking about these elderly Maltese women who talked about the British Empire. Also, I met artists there and I partially described certain projects. I think it's very important. We still have time that on the one hand, when you come with such a project, we will now watch the movie in a moment. It's about our war, about our complexities. We can hear sirens there. So you shifted already to talking about the movie? No. I just walked there around, I looked at everything, and there was a huge project of posters. And all these posters were from all over the world. And the idea for those posters, it's how artists are against the bombs. And as a Ukrainian artist, I was walking around and I was saying, oh, I would like so many bombs. I'm not against bombs. Of course, then I realized more. It was about against nuclear bombs. And I also shared that we also had a nuclear bomb, but we refused from it. And what do we have now? Also, there was a work by the Italian artist who transformed real weapons into glass reflection. I was like, no, it's not okay. I don't want it. So actually, I was walking around and I was like nagging around. And this is all included in the text. But I didn't nag with Maltese. And in a nutshell, for those who will not read the text, one of the works of the Maltese artist was about washing this British telephone booth, and he was ready to transport it to the UK, because the state of UK wanted to include it into the heritage, but he was against it. So I approached him and I said, well, you're so lucky with the UK, because we didn't have so cool telephone booths. And I Googled for him how the telephone booth looked like in the Soviet Union. It's really great that you want to ship this telephone booth and you will not be criticized. But we get a lot of criticism, and actually the UK is not attacking you even. So it was about that on the one hand, we were welcome with our topic of decolonization, but I'm not a critic. I can apply any words here. So from the narrative perspective, it was very weak, because for those countries who still have the right to for violent opposition, this is how I call it, it was not very comfortable there. And there was a lot of discomfort that, yes, they brought up this topic of decolonization, but in my opinion, it was in such a format that I felt like that was all complicated for me. The second edition of the Biennale, it was not decolonization, it was tenderness. I don't know why this was this great shift. I was walking around, looking around. But in the text that I recommend you to read, we invested a lot of effort and energy. There is ironic, in my opinion, ironic thought that, yes, these topics of decolonization are offered to us. But honestly speaking, as an artist, I don't feel that they are worth praise. When we talk about Venice at that time, I checked the main pavilion and all the rooms in Venice, and all the rooms were about decolonization as well, about decolonized world. And I was like, I left and I was thinking, well, and where were we in all that? But now we will shift to the video, but I would like to remark, to announce that right now we have an open call. So none of the biennales are perfect. Whether our participation is important, it is in Venice and in Malta. That's why there is I'm encouraging you as a professional community to smaller and bigger NGOs, or also state museum or non-state museums. Right now, you can get into this initiative. We will not apply. There are some already interested in the audience. Great, great. That's the best news for us. So I actually opened this application call right in the morning today. During lunch, I will share all the info about bars and cafes. So my announcement was that there is an open call for artists. I know Maria Vasilenko was also thinking about it, about applying. So there is an encouragement to apply for the main project, and there is encouragement for curators to apply for the pavilion. From our side, we are ready to share our experience and contacts. There is a great manager from the Malta Heritage part who is responsible for the Ukrainian pavilion. So he keeps contacting us once a week to ask about the applicants. So they're really treating us with respect and love. The team is really great, and we are ready to share experience, contact. We're ready to share the Instagram page, which is like UA Pavilion Malta. It's something similar like to the Venice, like there is a story and it's passed down. We are ready to support you informationally. And even the support with panels, there is everything, context, production. We maintained contacts with the local Ukrainian NGO who supported us as well. So from our side, there is definitely support. So I'm really happy that you're interested in that. When it comes to individual artists, there are some royalties available, so you don't need to look for funding, as in the case of national pavilions. It's also an important piece of news. So you just need to apply and you will get funds. And we are moving on slowly. We are getting ready to have a look at the video. So you will be very privileged. You will learn also about backstage. Video will not be broadcast because this is or because of the author's rights, but you can have a look at it. And maybe just another 5 minutes about how we shot it. So we thought to address Roman Himeya. Nat gave us 10 additional minutes. So the team was important. When it comes to video and pavilion, it was all about the efforts of the team. And for us, it was the important of Roman Himeya to be involved. He's another artist who didn't want to co-author it officially, but he's an important part of the project because in this video he was as a kind of producer and an operator, and these are very important roles. We addressed him with the request. We had some ideas how the performance should look like, which was supposed to be documented in such a way that we would have a mini movie. And we shot it in Odessa in January 2024, and in March already Biennale started. Alevtina, would you like to talk about the location? I just remembered that we talk about our family, about the meeting of my parents in Odessa and the entire movie. And Alevtina started talking first about the father. So usually everyone knows my mother, but I also have my father, which appears in my artistry for the first time. And I decided to present him with an excursion around Odessa. He died at the beginning of 2000s, and he also studied in Odessa back in the Soviet Ukraine. And he didn't live long enough to see the invasion in Georgia or in Donbass, and he cannot know about the invasion of 2022, full-scale invasion. And this is how I demonstrate current Odessa to him, with all the sirens, with all the shelters. And for sure, I also visit his Navy Academy. And I come to the factory, steel factory, where my mother worked. She didn't particularly enjoy to produce cables. And this is something that I also share with in the West, that to those who think that the Soviet Union was like a social paradise, no, people could not move from one settlement to another. So a person from Donetsk Oblast was not able to move to Odessa only if they started working at the harmful production. And that's what my mother did. She worked in terrible conditions. You will see them. This factory still continues to work. I'm sure that it has improved from the safety perspective and its harmfulness perspective. But when we came there, even the director came and asked us what was my mother's last name. He turned back and he said, "Oh, there was no person like this." But I thought that I need to mention my mother's maiden name. So in a nutshell, the biggest part of this movie is taking place at the steel factory where my mother worked. So these are 4 locations. This is the shelter. This is Odessa Museum of the Arts, and the sea. And sea, why? Because it's something that united my mother and my father. And this is about very typical situations that are associated with Odessa. A lot of people use these sites to recognize Odessa. This is Katya's also Langeron Beach is one of the Katya's favorite locations, not the famous Potemkin stairs. And I think Katya made this piece very important in the movie. It's fantastic. But what did we discuss with Roman? I was really sick. I was in terrible condition. My aunt's house got damaged on the 7th of January on Christmas in the afternoon. She had terrible trauma. She was taken to Dnipro. I stayed with her for 10 days.
Afterwards, I went for the shooting in Odessa, for the shooting of the film. So we were not close with Roman, so I had to tell him my family story. I don't even remember how much time I spent in his workshop. I said, "Look what I believe in." I think that decolonization is not something abstract. This is something you have to open or unveil for yourself in some way. So I can do it from my family background. I just have to give an honest look on it. So I believe if I went through some way, it has to turn into action. He asks me, like, what action? I go, my grandma didn't consider me to be her granddaughter. She thought I am a Russian girl, and because I was speaking Russian. But we were Ukrainians, and I say to Roman, "I'm gonna dance in this movie, the Georgian dance." I said, he goes like, can you? And I go, no, but I learned how to do that. That was my action. I had only 3 lessons. Yes, and it was covered by the budget money. Yeah, almost everything was covered. Almost everything, yes. What is the number? Yeah, that's the bridge for the yesterday's talk, if you want. So the overall budget, maybe it was not that expensive for the pavilion, I mean the organizational expenses. So it was around 200,000 hryvnias, but not everything was covered with this budget. So human resources was unfortunately underfunded, but we made it. We had the pavilion. So yeah, some small reactions to that, and then we will go to watch the movie. So in Odessa, we have the exhibition in Odessa, so I received tags or just reactions in social media that people said that they were crying. So in Malta, when we had our exhibition in the Villa, so I was observing what was the reaction of people. People were smiling, but what we were expecting, people smiling and crying. So I think that there were people in Odessa who were smiling because there are some episodes where some people recalled Muratov in Odessa. Yeah, what we really wanted was that this movie could bring about these 2 emotions: sadness, tears, laugh, smiles. And I really wanted to be so. And coming back to Malta, there were many projects about the similar topic. We were working with the decolonization topic, but I think that only we Ukrainians were talking about it through humor. So that's what I think. That's our strengths, right? I think humor is something which indicates distance, and distance gives us big capacity to be subjective, and whenever we are subjective, we are about to be decolonized, because decolonization, that's being mature, be emancipated, the one who knows who we are. So my Maltese colleague said that they said that they didn't know their identity. But when we were having a party, they say, "You are so confident." Maybe just it seemed to them, perhaps, because we have a lot of things to work on. But I think that this emotion that we know what we do, and that we know that Odessa is the north of the Mediterranean region, and it is indeed so. Thank you very much, Alevtina, for this talk. So right now we are getting ready to have the film on the screen. We do not have time for the Q&A part here. Not, what are we about to do? After the film, yes, Q&A after the film, because we do not want to disturb this moment. So the film is on. Thank you for your smiles. Yeah, thank you for the technical possibility to watch big screen. It was good. So what about the sound? How did you shoot the sound? Did you? It was very challenging, actually. Yeah, I was handling something in my hands. We had a big mic or recorder. So the idea of Roman was how to get through to the one who is dead, to my father. So, and we came up with this metaphor, like tried to knock at his door, like, and the sounds, right, that they were recorded by Pavlo Litovkin, and yeah, it's all his endeavor. Yeah, but you have to somehow to knock to have father. At the same time, we have to speak to you, to those who are alive, to the audience. So I remember these eyes of the Roman. So you want to talk to the dead father, right? All the film, you are speaking to the person who is not on the screen. Yes, and Roman followed this lead. He was looking for the way how to talk to a person who is not there. And so Alevtina, it looks like she's talking to everyone around, but basically we understand that she speaks to her father. Of course, there's the great director's work by Roman, so everyone could watch it. So yeah, that was the real sound. We recorded that because we knew that we badly need that. One technical question: how did you manage to get through the marine strategic academy? Oksana Dovhopolova is a great philosopher, historian. Yeah, we don't need to say that. We have a lot. She made it, so it's owing to her. So yeah, we do not disguise that. The question was where we will have enough time to tell you all the tracks. It's very interesting and logic question. So about the Langeron beach, for example, the stairs. Roman wanted stairs, and again cinematography references, etc. So we wanted these stairs, but again it's strategic object again, because we cannot do it because there's the view for the seaport. Langeron is also strategic object, the sea, so we really wanted to have this approval. We were looking for these permits and we had the necessary, everything was approved, so there was just a minimum. Yeah, but basically we were shooting this film during the full war. Other two locations, sometimes, miracles happen, especially when you have some complex projects. Some wonders have to be, because Oksana lives in Odessa for the majority of her life. She was the teacher in Marine Academy for 19 years. So therefore, the doors were open for us. I mean, students, yes, they can be there. All the deans, professors, rectors, everyone gave the green light. So they really, we could do whatever we needed. That's owing to Oksana's personal contact. As for the factory, the rope factory, the access was through the private museum of contemporary art, so we made it there. So as for this factory, it was a contemporary, the new one was at the eastern part of Ukraine. It was destroyed. So they were worried because they wanted to show this, to shoot this, the new technological factory. They said, it's a pity that we will show you the oldest version of the factory, or the one which has to be modernized. So of course, we need to have this old one to show how it used to be, and they launched this mechanism, and we had the safety officer with us. We had the helmets on, and Valentina is only without a helmet on the screen, but everything was according to the safety rules. So, so she pressed the button. Yeah, we did it a lot of time. The whole factory just stopped and then started over. So it was for a couple of times. Yeah, we were allowed even to influence the production, and almost all those workers. Do you remember Taya? That was the name on the one who takes measures of the ropes, of the density, etc., according to the measurements. So this person whom I'm speaking to, maybe you recognize that that's Kateryna, the one who I'm speaking to, and they presented Alevtina this cloths, and yeah, she then was in this outfit in Malta. Yeah, they also visited exhibition in Odessa. So yeah, this shooting process is another interesting experience our team went through. I have a question about the shooting process. Very fantastic scenes, and they really love that. This like cinema picture in Ukrainian, because we feel the dynamics, but also it's like the separate pictures that are intertwined. So what was your vision? What was the vision of the director? How did you merged visually? We were really pressed for time. Roman had total freedom. It was all up to him. Yeah, some of the scenes were thought over in Kyiv. Something we just came up with at the factory in Odessa, off the cuff, and so it's whenever you're explaining something with hands, with plastic cups you have. But this is something how we do it. Yeah, it's a metaphor, how we explanation to somebody, foreigners at the West, and we're just showing like mapping everything. So yeah, that's just the way how we do that. And we were explaining this, and we had this scene of the cup. So you remember sea, Langeron Beach, that was my decision. I really wanted to capture this sea, even though we couldn't film the stairs. We had one pre-research day, and Roman was at the location. He was choosing the right angle, etc. And then this bomb shelter, that was the hall of the Odessa National Artistic Museum, and that was the scenography. So yeah, that's a Roman who is very confident co-author of it. For example, golden shoes. and this carpet and the rubles money. So that's something what was not up to Roman. He had to put up with that. Right. So yeah, Roman is definitely co-author, but there were some things, and he asked me, "Are you sure about that? Are you sure about this Georgian dance?" I said yes. But that's gonna be a cringe. No. Okay. So what that was only one failure with us. I just would like to finish. We are looking in the eye, and he said, "I hope there won't be any music." Okay, with the Georgian dance. There was a music, but in the headphones. So what was our value? I really wanted to dance this Georgian Lizinka dance, and I really, no father, no grandma, our family is like separated, but I wanted to dance that because I have these Georgian roots. I am able to, even though my grandma said that I'm Russian kid, but I had this Georgian origin. I wanted to show this cool Georgian dance. I was sure that I can be taught by somebody in Odessa who is professional. That was a young person who sent us a wonderful video, and Katya said, I'm totally zero. But this person didn't show up, and yeah, we had contact with him at night, and we really needed to have this lesson, but he didn't fade up. He didn't show up, and the manager, the contact person, says, "I do not know where he disappeared, vanished." Just and we started. We were concerned about this, but he was having a night shift and he just fell asleep, and we learned about this after 3 days. But we came up with a solution. It was even better. Yeah, we had a backstage party, let's call it like that. So a lot of people from museum, Katya's parents, the whole team. And we have felt the support from the local people. They knew that the film is being shot. And then there is a lady coming up and she says, "I can teach you how to dance." And we also have two women as well. So the one is dancing this male part, is active, yeah? Because in Georgian dance, it looks like the first fiddle is by men, but all this hands part are done by ladies. So she's good at this male part of the dance. So Katya said that's this. We also had a lot of improvisation. Dance it was not, but still there was another improvisation with the person was not a professional choreographer, a dancer. Yeah, that her name is Diana, but she was great with her part. And also, we planned a rehearsal with this guy who didn't show up. But with Diana, it happened as it is in the film. So that is the performance which is filmed by the director, really pressed for time. And that's a real performance, I would call it. Because to see all this location, Marine Academy and the Style Rope Factory, that's a performance, I would like to say. And the artist can allow for it just to see what is interested in through the family's history and background. Thank you. Yeah, we have one question here as well. And then I think that we can have some other questions during lunch. My question is about the golden shoes. Focus was on them, eye-catching. And Alevtina said, for me, it's something like, from the fairy tales, like from Oz or something else, like something magical. Why did you opt for them? Was there any meaning? And the second question, just follow up. So you mentioned that, how it was perceived in Malta, but after after watch this film, my question is, how did they perceive that? Because it's a multi-layer story, and without your intro, without other remarks, it can be perceived in a different way. So how did it appeal to the audience? Did they manage to find this connection through the sea, through the family case, etc.? Yes, they managed to read that as any piece of art. Sometimes you just read what you can read without any pretext, pre-context. So I learned a lot of feedback from the professional audience. They know what is art all about, how does it work. Yeah, of course, perhaps they do not know many things about backstage, about drama and director, or about some other, but they were honestly mesmerized. They were this... some Western curators showed up and we said, we have 20-minute video, and they say, oh, we didn't have time. But I say, like, give it a try. And they literally watched it till the end, even though they didn't have time. So even if you're not aware of what all these stories are all about, right? You just see the professional manner of how this film has been shot. So yeah, it catches your attention and you want to watch it till the end. You see this dynamics, and yeah, it's a catching. Even though before that, they were pretty skeptic about your video art. Maybe you want to add something. Some people were smiling, I liked that. But about the golden shoes, there is a big scene there where I'm showing this uniform of the Marine students. And I understand that he was there and he had the Soviet-style uniform. And right now we see how the Ukrainian uniform looks like. And yes, there was this gold on it, the gold furniture, and I really wanted to match them. So I had this black suit, I had the blue shirt, but I wanted somehow to match them, so I wanted some gold on them because they have the elements, the furniture, the buckles or other buttons, they are gold. So we saw this Marine students before, therefore that's why I came up with. So I hope right now you know more about my father. He did such performances. He really glued this money to his shoes coming from his house. He wanted to show off like he has a lot of money. He has this thirst for money, for gold, for luxury life. He wanted to be well-to-do. So it was difficult for him in the Soviet Union because in Georgia, by the way, there was no Marine Academy, only in Odessa and 3 more in Russia. We learned about that. So he wanted to live abroad, and he really wanted to be wealthy. This gold, this money. So that's something really that refers to him. So I tried to reconstruct his performance. Of course, I had something from my end. Maybe I had to stand by himself because I'm also performing in a good way, I think. Okay. And this, especially when he burns this money, maybe that was my thing. I came up with that. So
this Soviet Union person who wanted a different kind of life, and the Soviet Union limited people's freedoms. And in those panels, by the way, when the people watched the movie, it was mentioned that my father sailed, and he wrote me a lot about Amsterdam, and there is a story that he went to the cinema, so that he talked that actually when you went to the cinema to watch a movie in Amsterdam or any other Western country, you could have been fired. And it's all about the Soviet Union again. Some the colleagues are hinting me that I need to let you go. But we will talk about where we got the rubles, Russian rubles. We have the posters, stickers, the brochures. So during lunch, you can donate for the Shuchavich Museum, Olesa Honchar is with us. So please select Aleftina's drawings, and if you have additional questions on Malta's Biennale or the video, please, you are welcome to ask questions, and we are ready to answer them.